Perfect. No, thank you very much, everyone. Great to have you. I'll get straight into it. Before I get into the details, as you can see, we have a bit of a new positioning. So we had a few discussion, and I was inspired by some very interesting book, a book called Story Brand, that I can recommend to everyone on how to better position your company and your organization. And we realized we need to move a little bit away from this pure technical focused positioning to a little bit more benefit orientated one. And we will reposition ourselves a little bit away from all this technical stuff to what is it actually that we're doing. And the focus will be predominantly on clarity. So we are providing clarity of what's going on right now and of what's going on in the future. And this will also lead to other aspects of rebranding a little bit of some other aspects in our product portfolio, in particular the new, what used to be called virtual data warehousing, will be called Instant Link. So to move a little bit away from things that are very technical, that are potentially having already a bit of a bad reputation, because data warehouse is typically something that's expensive and complicated and so on. So we're moving a little bit away from this. So this just as a quick overview of from a positioning perspective. Just again, very quickly, we had a massively successful last 3 months. We have now crossed the 1,000 companies under management, and some huge wins all over the world. So the biggest one is American Tires in the US with 250 users, Baskin and Robbins that you probably know, also a huge project, and then a lot of other new customers that I won't mention. There's one that is important because this one is at the moment our biggest ever from a consolidation perspective. The Collective is a British serviced office and residential facilities provider. They're consolidating 160 entities with Acterys. So a big win there, and you know, just showcasing how powerful the solution, the platform now is, that you can really easily handle. There was not a single consulting day so far yet involved, and they already have the solution up and running using the apps and the templates for 160 companies. So pretty impressive result there. And then a lot of other names here in Germany. You might know XFAB, which is a big semiconductor foundry. And then you know, you can see the names here all over the world, from Africa to the United States. But let's go into the details, and I want to keep this as interactive as possible. You know, you have joined this meeting so that you can talk with us and ask you questions. So please interrupt me anytime if you have any questions, want something explained in more detail, and then I will try to answer as well as I can. So what are the news in the product platform? Starting with the modeler. As we've already mentioned, the key one is Instant Link, which moves us away from ETL and making it really as easy as possible to link data sources directly into Acterys. And I will show you a little bit now how this works. So far, you've seen only the development versions, and I can show you today also some of the real life implementation of the product. Actually, this is already up and running. So we have now big new prospects in Germany, a sneaker company that likely everyone of you knows, where we have already deployed this, and we're using their dimensions with 600,000 products and other massive volumes of data in the different tables. So the way this Instant Link works is you can set up a data source. So for the moment, we're supporting SQL, Azure SQL, analysis services, and Excel, but coming soon, we will support a wide variety of other data sources. So you set up initially the data source. So you can see I have already a few here. We already have tests as well with Power BI. So you will also be able to link an existing Power BI model to it. And you can then link a dimension to your data model from this data set. So you can say you still have the option of a normal Acterys dimension, where you just do whatever was possible before, which is create a dimension. Or you can create a new instant link dimension, where you can just say, what's the data source that I want to use? What's the table that I want to use? Looks like here I don't have one that's enabled. This one should work. So it's empty. So I'll just explain it. So you point to the data source, then you select the database, then you select the table, and then you select the columns in this table that you want to keep. And that will automatically create your dimension in Acterys, either physically as a physical copy, so it will automatically load all the data from this data source into Acterys as a dimension, or you can have a real life link. In either way, you can see now here you have the option to refresh. So for example, if you want to refresh the dimension from whatever the source is, you just click on refresh here, and that will automatically refresh your dimension, and you have all the dimension elements here. The cool thing is not a single line of ETL, really just a few clicks of a button. We stand all the Acterys functionality that you know. At the moment, in the initial version, we don't support the edit dimension, but this will also be coming soon, that you can then edit the dimension. So this is, for example, coming from the German sneaker company here, but you can then add other columns with all the Acterys functionality that you know. And yeah, a massive dimension here with hundreds of thousands of elements. You can see one of the new features that we will be rolling out this week. So to make the UI a little bit better, we will freeze now the first two columns. So when you move now to the left and right, you will always have the name of the element visible here. So it gets much easier to work with your dimension, and you're not so far when you moved, you only saw them, from this part onwards, and it wasn't, particularly if you had something like this, you had no idea what the element is. But now with these frozen columns on the left, you will always be in control of what's going on. So this was just a quick overview of Instant Link, what used to be called virtual data warehousing. This will be available this week. So this will be rolled out to all customers this week. Initially, if you're a cloud customer, only Azure SQL will be available. So you can only link to other Azure SQL databases. If you're using an on-prem, a full SQL server, so either on-prem or a managed instance in the cloud in Azure, then you will have these 4 options available. So this is Instant Link. I've already shown you freeze pane, so a bit of a new UI in the modeler. We have a new currency wizard, and I will just quickly show you this one. This allows you now to manage all the currencies completely automatically. So initially, this is not part of the. Let me switch to the full Acterys version. This is the dev server, but I'm switching now to the deployed. So this is a feature that's already deployed. This is nothing that is in beta. So you have now this new option, company currency settings. You can choose your group currency, and then you can choose what currencies do you want to handle, and then from what period onwards. So you can say, I would like to have currency rates from February 1st, 2020. What the system will do now is it will create an Acterys cube with all the foreign exchange rates on a monthly basis for these 3 currencies. And this is not it. So because it will create this initially, so up until today, but it will ongoingly maintain this. So in the next month, you will have the currency rates for August. So the way it works is until you're at the end of the month, it will show you the currency rate, or it will contain the currency rate of today. And at the end of the month, it will lock in the month-end rate of that particular period, and it will automatically update. So in September, you will automatically get the September currencies. And all this is just a normal Acterys cube. We can have a quick look at it. So if we go to this new cube, we have now this cube. It has 2 dimensions, currency and month. And I can just drag and drop the the dimensions, and now I see for the different currencies on a monthly basis automatically populated the correct exchange rate. And as this is an Acterys cube, you have obviously the option to edit this as you want to. So if you're not happy with this currency rate as we give it to you, you can always override it and edit the rate that we give you here automatically out of the box with the rate that you prefer. So this is the currency wizard. The next one, we have some new features in the cube wizard. So the cube wizard is now really more a wizard. So you can now save these profiles. You were already able to save profiles before, but that didn't save the data source. So with the new cube wizard, it will save all the details. It will, for example, if you have a SQL database, it will remember what database, what user. You just have to enter the password, and then remember also all the column definitions for loading the data into Acterys. So again, back to our mantra, instant results, making data integration as simple as possible. Also reflected in the cube wizard now with the new UI, where you just go through these 2 steps, which I guess all of you likely are already familiar. You choose your source, you specify what do you want these columns to be, a dimension, an attribute, a value field, a time dimension, and it will automatically create the entire cube in Acterys. So in other words, the star schema data warehouse. So this was the new cube wizard. We have then, and this is mostly relevant for the zero users among you, which I think there are a fair few now present. In Europe, admittedly, this is not, in continental Europe, I have to add, this is not that relevant one because it doesn't exist, but it's hugely successful in all the English-speaking countries. So the UK is one of the biggest markets for zero, so very important there. And also with our customer wins, zero is an extremely important segment now for us, where we have hundreds of customers now where we manage things. So we put a lot of effort into improving the offering there, not just for zero, but for other templates as well. But we have to be honest, it's the most effort went into the zero environment. So we have now in the template new reports where we automatically can load the budget from zero. We have, maybe I'll show them to you as opposed to just seeing this slide here. I hope I have it in this one. So this is now the new zero template. As you can see, we're using now our own visuals here. The Acterys variance visual, where I can see now at a glance the different companies, how are they performing with all the features. So you can drill down, you can even edit if you want to. You can switch between the relative display or the absolute display. And as you can see here now, we have now also the budget data here. And this is the budgets that are coming, that could come directly from zero. So we now have an automated load of, in case there's budget data in zero, directly into Acterys. Reflecting this focus on the budgets, we have now also new templates that give you all the actual budget comparison, obviously for all the companies that you've loaded into Acterys and all the other details that are available. We have new group performance reports that are using the new variance visual, where I can see at a glance how is my company performing. I can drill down where I want to drill down. Well, it's interesting why it doesn't give me the, maybe this is not enabled here. So this is probably a fix for the template. So to drill down from, this is likely the report definition. If I want to drill down from the report definition to the OLAP account, I can just drag this here. And now I should have the drill down. So now I've done the drill down into the next level. where I can drill up or drill down. Also, the double click is supported, so now I just see the revenue accounts here and go up. So, a great way to navigate your data. We have then the sales dashboard, that's nothing new. We have the profit and loss, that's nothing new. Although what's new now is the currency conversion. So using the new currency wizard, we now have automatically the currency conversion. So you don't have to worry about this anymore. There used to be issues in the old template. If it was a very exotic currency, this didn't quite work. Now this is all gone because it will use the central new currency wizard. We have the consolidation reports where you have the eliminations, all the typical consolidation features. The cash journals are nothing new. What's new and what's very important is the trial balances. So what we're doing now is we are bringing in the trial balance report from zero. So this means the data here is 100% correct because we're taking the trial balance on the account level for the particular period. And this needs to match the details in zero. So on zero, we have the detailed transactions. And the detailed transactions obviously need to match the totals in zero. Sometimes there can be issues. For example, if the zero API doesn't work or other issues, it could be that these numbers don't match. So for example, the asset number in zero and the asset numbers of the detailed transactions in Acterys don't match. There could be good reasons for this. You can see here, we have this check column now where you can see if there's a difference, then it's something that you have to look at. And the difference could come in a normal way. So even if there's no error or anything, because of the unrealized currency gains and losses and the bank revaluations. Because these are items that are not in the journals. These are calculations that Xero does to calculate these revaluations. And these revaluations should make up exactly the revaluations that you have in Xero. Or there's a problem here that the total doesn't match the total in Xero. So apart from having, it was a widely asked feature that people wanted to have the trial balance. We have not the perfect trial balance reports here with year-to-date credits and debits, with credits and debits overall. We have the check that checks the totals on the report, on the trial balance reports that are definitely correct, and compares them to the results in Xero. So this was the trial balance. This is now also applied in the balance sheet, where we're now also calculating current year earnings and total equity, which is also previously an issue. This is now correct because we're using the value from the trial balance report and putting together the balance sheet now so that it exactly matches the results in Xero. We have then new reports for data summary and age debtors, where these typically asked for reports are now all implemented, working correctly, and a new feature for repeating invoices. Obviously, also an important feature in Xero for repeating invoices that give you the future recurring income figures. So I can see here next month, this will be the income from repeating invoices. For example, in the industry like ours, where we are using subscriptions, it's a key thing to know what is the repeating business that's locked in, so I can forecast into the future. And this is now automatically available in the Xero template. The other things are not new; they were already in the template before, so I'll leave them for the moment. So this was the new template. The new template meant that we have now a fair few new tables. So one of them that I haven't shown you is the users. This was a requirement of the 160 company customer. They needed, if you have 160 companies and you have, I don't know, 3-4 users each, you have a massive amount of users and you want to be in control of what these users are. So we're now bringing in the user tables from Xero that you can control all the users in a single table. The other new table, as mentioned before, is the budget summaries. If you have your budget data in Xero, this is now coming automatically. Same for trial balance, and also a new one are the quotes. What will come is not yet deployed. I think we already have it in the new one here. Should the zero entity be refreshed automatically directly in the modeler? So these are dev servers, so they take a little bit longer to load. So you can see here connector scheduler, where you can then set up your desired refresh rate directly in the modeler. So this was self-service scheduler. Then a few internal things, but that make the system much faster. We're improving now how we are handling the logs, so that it loads now much faster. We had issues there that the logs took a long while to load because there was a lot of data that these logs files, the tenant had to go to the entire log table for all the 500 customers, and that took too long to load. So now this is as this is implemented now, this is much faster. This is the archive handling, and then we have the new MYOB connector. Maybe I'll show it to you here. So this is not yet deployed, but will hopefully be deployed this week. We have the new connector here, where you can now automatically connect all the MYOB data. We don't have an app yet, but sooner or later we'll have an app there as well. So similar to Zero, that you have the full-blown analytics environment also for MYOB. One thing that you already see here in the dev version, we have a new settings. So for the different companies, you can set up the settings. So you already saw the currency, the calendar configuration. So typically the financial year configuration, where you can set per the particular connector. Here you can choose here the connector. What time periods do I want to manage, start date, end dates, and then also the start of your financial year. And this will then automatically generate the correct calendars for this particular connector. So next one is probably the coolest of the new features. Are the changes in the matrix, and this is actually really brand new. Some of the things were only deployed today, and I'm also quite excited to see. We just went through it with Hazam and tested everything, and it works brilliant. And we were both amazed of how this has really improved the visual. So in the demo now, let me just put this on full screen. You have the option now to go to directly drill to a particular report. So you can drill from directly from this is the variance. You can drill from the variance directly to an underlying report. For example, the matrix data entry. And if I choose now a particular entity here, I see now this new entity. And there's now some major changes in the matrix. So you can see this is our matrix visual. One of the things that you will see here is we have now conditional formatting, where I can immediately show users where are you allowed to enter data. So if it's gray here, then this means that the users are allowed to change data. So if I click on these cells, I can change things. These columns here, their calculations is the prior year actual and the percentage from last year. If I click on them, as you can see, I can't do anything. So the option to enable write and disable write in the particular value columns is now directly here, and then also the conditional formatting to show this. You probably have already seen the comment indicators, so they are now available here as well. So if I click on a particular cell, I see immediately what's the comment for this particular cell. So I see with the yellow marker on the top left that there's a comment available. So if I type in here now R1000, you can see how fast this was. I've written now for this particular account 1000 until the rest of the year. I can see now immediately the change. So the ones that have changed are now in red. And if I click on save, it takes a second to write this back into the database. So super fast now way to write data back into Acterys. This has been dramatically improved to what it was before. We have now much more efficient algorithms that handle these write-back scenarios. But then also some cool things somewhere else. So now I want to change the total. We want to make this 30,000. I've now changed the total. But what I can do now, previously I had to refresh the entire page to get to the updated results. What I can do now is I can press refresh, and it will refresh my visual. So if I do the drill down here now, I get the updated results, respectively. Yeah, here we are. Here now the updated results. So we have now an in-visual refresh, and this is really something pretty unique. We are probably at the moment the first vendor in Power BI, in the Power BI world, that supports this feature. So an in-visual refresh as opposed to the entire page, which makes things much faster. The other cool thing, if you do this refresh, so let's say I'm changing this to 3000. If you do this refresh, it doesn't destroy the layout. So we're now saving the layout. Previously, there was a problem after every refresh, it collapsed everything to the original state. Now, after every refresh, we're saving the layout of the matrix, and the usability becomes much better than it used to be before, where you always had them, you refreshed, you had to collapse it again and go there. Now it will save the state of where you are on the visual whenever you do a refresh. So this was already pretty nice, but it gets better. So one of the newest features now is an in-visual calculation. So you see here we have a calculation that calculates the percentage of the prior year actual. So the new forecast value here is 44,000% above the last year one. And this is an in-visual calculation. And I'll show you why this is so important. So if I switch here now to edit mode, the issue is that Power BI with the custom visual API has severe problems, because if I take the normal Power BI calculation, so I have a normal Power BI calculation here for the prior year actual percentage. So I've just dragged this into the visual. Takes a little bit to update. So now I can see this is the prior year percentage. The calculation is correct. It's the same as this one, but as you can see, the results are wrong. So this is the correct result, this is the wrong result. And why? Because what the Power BI Visual API does is it forcibly aggregates results. So the DAX calculation on the lowest level is correct, but as soon as you go, you can see here it matches. As soon as you go on the aggregate level, it adds up calculation as opposed to doing the calculation on that particular level. And we are achieving this now by enabling calculations directly in the matrix. So I can go into the matrix, go to where is it? The custom values calculation. And so something that we had before was that for a particular column, you can choose the how you want to handle them. So as opposed to sum, which is for the grand total, for example, or any aggregation, how do you want to handle aggregation? So normally it's sum, but we have the option of also using average, minimum, maximum here. So particularly for prices, for example, you don't want to see the aggregated prices here, but you want to see the average, and that was possible before. What we have now is the option to use custom calculations. So in this case, I probably don't want the custom calculation, but in this case, I want to. So the way that these custom calculations work now, you just create a dummy measure in Power BI. I'll show you this quickly, where I just said PYAC percentage is 0. And this, you will need this as a placeholder, because what we're doing with this placeholder, we're overriding the placeholder with our calculation. And this, at the moment, this could be as simple as, let me just bring up the notepad, because this was, maybe I'll use Word, because then it's easier to see. The way that these calculations work is you use for the column reference, the term value 1 to n. So if we make this a bit larger here. So you would refer to column 1 as value 1 and column 2 as value 2. So if you want to define our calculations, you can just use these references. And for example, a simple one would be, I want to calculate value 2 divided by value 1. That would then calculate this result in the visual. And this is in essence what we're doing here. This is just a little bit more elaborate here with the prior year actual calculation. I will take the wrong one out because that doesn't help us much. It was just to show that Power BI calculates wrong. And this is the same for every visual. We had lots of complaint. We're now part of the Power BI Visual Council. There's only 5 vendors in the world that are part of this, where we're directly talking with the Microsoft top management about visuals. Everyone has this problem, all the visual vendors. We are at the moment the only ones that have a solution to that with these in visual calculation that overcome the incorrect calculations of DAX in custom visuals. Interestingly, in the matrix visual, Microsoft uses a different API. In the matrix visual, it calculates correctly, but for the custom visual API, that's not supported. So we have now dragged this custom measure into the matrix, the PYAC percentage. And what you can do now is you can then just specify the calculation that you want. For example, here I want for PYAC percentage. I choose now custom. And then you can enter your custom calculation. I will make this a little bit bigger because that's a bit of a special one here. So you can take this to the nth level, these calculations. So in this case here, this is actually an if statement. And the way the syntax works is, this is a not equal. So it uses the JavaScript syntax. So I say, if value 2 is not equal 0, the question mark is the then condition. So if the value is not 0, then use value 1 divided by value 2. And then the column is the else condition. So I'm saying if value is not 0, then do the calculation. Otherwise, use 0. So to avoid that I'm getting all these infinity errors because I'm calculating divided by 0. And we already have all these things explained. So in the wiki, all these things are already explained. So if you want to check them out, check out the wiki. So if you go to the matrix visual, you have already all this explained, and you will see that this is quite comprehensive. So the supported operators that we support are all these ones. So you can use all these calculation options in visual calculations and have the calculations directly in the visual. Obviously, a great way is much easier than DAX, and you can do all these calculations directly in the Acterys visual. So I guess these were the key things for the matrix, custom calculation, conditional format, in visual refresh, comment marker R, right, so fill right, and then the improved speed. The Gantt chart, I think you have already seen it. There's one thing, Thomas, you might be a little bit bored because you've seen these things already, but here's something that you haven't seen. As of an hour ago, this is really completely new, we're supporting now outbound filtering also directly in the Gantt chart. So if you click on marketing, you see that these change as well. So if you click on a task, it filters out to the other Power BI elements. So these, when you click on something, it filters out to the other items. Obviously, including to all the other features that we have, the editing directly of the tasks, start date, end date, all these things directly supported here. You can choose your resources. With the filtering out, the cool thing is, some of our partners were asking for, I want to put in comments against the task, and this is not possible because the comment would be filtered by the task that you click, and then you can enter your comment for that particular task. So this is Gantt. Visual planning is also new. This is also pretty cool stuff. So we have now very compelling options for driver-based planning. So there's some other visuals out there in the marketplace that give you some similar look and feel, but I really think that what we are doing here is way superior than this, because what these visuals are doing, they force you into a very rigid concept of how you can do planning. And the worst thing is it builds a model in the model. So you have your planning model that lives only in a particular visual. In our case here, this is completely flexible. So we have the same things that you can do here. So I can drag and drop and do my planning here with all the drivers. So I can say, if I want to simulate what, if a driver, for example, the currency rate goes up here, what are the implications? Or you can do the same thing on a vertical way. Immediately see what are the new values. When you're happy, just with a click, write them back. You can lock them in. So let's take this down a little bit and say I want to lock them in now. I want to lock the total in, but I want to change the seasonality. So if I change here now something, you can see the other ones automatically adapt to keep the total constant. So I have the option now to lock the total and just do my changes and keep the total constant. This is then linked with all our other visuals. So you want to say, okay, this is my quantity that I'm selling, but I want to now change the price to 700 for this period, and immediately see the implication of that particular change, all these visuals going together. So all these, in the end, these are visual planning and variance visuals that we're using here, where you can show the not just show the current driver, but also change it. When you switch to write mode, you can directly change all these things. So this is just a quick example of visual planning. And then finally, the table edit. This is also brand new. We have now the option in table edit that you have a date picker directly in the visual. So if you have a date field in your database, for example, if you go all the way to the right here, you see now you have this new symbol, which is a date picker. You can choose your date, click OK, save, and this will automatically save the date correctly in the dimension or into the relational table. Another thing is also for other data types. So here, for example, we have a integer validation. So if I try to enter text, so I'm now clicking on text, you can see nothing changed. But if I click on numbers, it allows me. So there's an automated validation that the system restricts the entering of data to the particular data type that is used, and supports it as well with the date picker. So this is a little bit of what's there, just a little outlook into the future, what will be coming. So we are super excited about this one. We are at the moment working on adding a calculation engine in Acterys, so that you're not limited anymore to DAX, but you can do your calculations in the Acterys calculation engine. So this will be coming, and this is particularly important for financial reporting requirements. So for example, you want to change the typical P&L calculation. You want to revenues minus cost of goods sold is gross profit. You can then directly add this calculation into the accounts dimension and say, I want to have a new calculation for gross profit, and that it's calculating revenue minus cost of goods sold, so two other accounts or account types that you have in your dimension. So that is something that we are confident will be coming this year, so in the foreseeable future. The next new thing is column types. So you saw a little bit already in the table edit visual, the option to add column types. So for example, I want an integer here for this attribute, or a date, or other data types. A report writer, also something that we're very excited about, the option to set asymmetric reports. So typically in the matrix, reports are symmetric. So if you have, for example, a particular time period, you need to show all the values for this one, or whatever. If you have a nested dimension, all the elements of the nested dimension. What we're at the moment working on is a new financial report writer where this is completely asymmetric. It means you have total flexibility. You can say, I want in the first column the month for actual, in the next column the month for budget, in the next column the total year for forecast, and so on. So you're able to set these columns the way you want to. History and undo, also something that we are working on. We already have some prototypes out, that when you click on a value, you can immediately see what was the entire history for that value. So who entered this, who did the first, what was the first entry, what's the next one, and so on. And also the option then to undo them. So you can say, hey, I want to undo all the changes that Thomas made in the last month. And then something that was also a lot of customers were asking for, that rename of dimensions and cubes, also something that we're confident will be available in the next few months, that we have the option to rename dimensions and cubes, which wasn't possible before. So this is it from my end. It looks like I'm pretty good in time. We've got 7 minutes left. So I'll leave the floor open to you and ask whatever questions you might have. I've talked now a lot in the last hour. Any questions?
Hi Martin, it's George here from Acterys. Just want to ask about the currency wizard. Is that available in the Zero connector?
No. So this will require the currency wizard, and the consolidation will require an admin. So you will need an admin license for that, one admin license.
Yeah, thanks Martin for the presentation. Acterys visuals perform really lightning fast. This has massively improved as the last time I've seen it. And I was wondering if you have already some showcases on consolidation.
Yes, we have. We have actually a few. I mean, this is, to be honest, typically focused on particular accounting systems. For Zero, we can show a very compelling scenario. I might show you quickly here. So if we look at I think it's this one here, let's see. But I can show you the principle of how it works. So you have your consolidated income statement. You have, for example, all your companies here. And then we have our consolidation engine. And the consolidation engine supports a variety of elimination scenarios. So you could have dedicated elimination accounts. You could have dedicated elimination contacts. So if you have the contact of a journal transaction, you can set contacts to be intercompany entities. And then based on, and so this is just a few, we have 5 different rules, or 5 different options that we support here. If you have set this up, the engine will automatically eliminate the intercompany transactions. So you can see this is the elimination scenario. If you move the mouse pointer there, you can see what were the eliminated transactions. So I can see here, this was a transaction from demo company EU to demo company UK. The elimination was by tracking category. That's particular to one of our accounting systems. So that's particular to Zero, where you can add a flag. Tracking category is a flag to a transaction where the accountant can say, hey, this is intercompany. And then based on that, it will automatically eliminate the transaction. So you have the eliminations here. And then in the end, you have the final total results completely automatically calculated by Acterys.
Very nice. Thanks.
And that obviously that goes alongside with the currency wizard. So if you need to do this, the currency conversion that's there, then there's specialized things like equity, minority consolidation. This can all be done, but at the moment we don't have this out of the box because this is so specific. This typically do on a custom basis as the customer requires.
So equity consolidation would be possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the end, this is just an attribute. So in your organization dimension, you just put in what's your ownership percentage, and then you treat the consolidation and the calculations accordingly to this ownership percentage in organization dimension.
Okay, I was just wondering because we are getting requests on equity consolidation.
Yeah, it's a very popular topic.
Okay.
It's actually, to be honest, in here in Asia Pacific, it's the majority of our projects.
Okay.
So with some kind of consolidation flavor.
Okay.
Any
thanks.
other questions? Cool. Yeah, no, thank you very much, everyone. Of course, I'm available and the team is available. If you have anything where we can help you with, and again, thank you very much for attending, and I'm looking forward to working on great projects coming up soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.